Welcome to the deep dive. We dive into complex stuff and pull out the core insights for you. Today, we're heading into the French pastry kitchen. We're tackling creme brulee. You look at the ingredients, cream, eggs, sugar, vanilla seems simple.
Deceptively simple. Yeah.
But making it, that's where it gets tricky.
Oh, absolutely. Our sources, from top chefs, they all say the same thing. It's not really about a complicated recipe. It's more one of the biggest tests of pure discipline and precision they teach. Get this right, and you've proven something.
Right. So that's our goal today. We're diving into 10, let's call them chef-level secrets, the things that make the difference between just okay and that incredible silky custard. We want to help you get silk, not spun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the whole idea, the philosophy behind it from these chefs we looked at, it boils down to this. Creme brulee doesn't test your recipe, it tests your discipline. It's all about control, every single step.
Okay, let's break down that discipline. Starting right at the beginning, building that silky foundation. Secret number one is what our sources call the golden texture rule. We're aiming for a specific consistency.
Yes, very specific.
Yeah.
It needs to be soft, luxurious, but critically firm enough to hold its shape under that sugar crust.
So when you crack it,
Exactly. When the spoon breaks through that top layer, you should feel just a slight resistance, almost like cutting cold butter. And it should just melt away. Getting that relies heavily on how you handle the eggs.
the eggs. Okay, how is it non-intuitive?
Well, many custards use whole eggs. But the chefs in our source material, they're really clear.
Yeah.
You need a very high yolk to whole egg ratio. Something like maybe 4 yolks for every 1 whole egg.
4-to-1. Wow.
Yeah, because whole eggs bring too much water and protein. That leads to a rubbery, almost spongy texture when it cooks. The yolks, they provide the fat and the emulsifiers. That's what gives you that signature silkiness, that richness.
Okay, so too many whole eggs, it gets rubbery. Not enough yolks, maybe it's too thin.
Or just doesn't have that luxurious density.
But the right yolk ratio gives you that velvet texture. Makes sense.
It does, and that density also connects directly to our second secret. Don't beat the eggs, persuade them. This is probably the most common mistake people make at home.
Right, because instinctively you grab a whisk, you want to beat air into eggs, make things light and fluffy.
And that's precisely what you don't want here. You need to whisk the yolks and sugar, but gently, just enough to combine them. If you whisk too hard, you whip in air bubbles.
Okay.
And those air bubbles, when they bake, they expand and create little holes, little voids in the custard. Ruins that perfectly smooth, homogeneous texture we're after.
I understand the principle, but how critical is it really? Say I'm in a hurry, I use an immersion blender for just like 10 seconds. Does that actually wreck the whole thing? A few bubbles?
It compromises it, absolutely. Those air bubbles expand with heat, like I said. If the custard sets around them, you get this inconsistent, almost spongy quality. It's not that single, flawless silk. That's why the chefs use phrases like, don't fight the eggs, convince them. Gentle whisking. Maybe even just a fork. Slow and steady.
Discipline again. Okay. Now, before we get to the heat, let's touch on Secret 9. This one sounds non-negotiable. Real vanilla only.
Oh, completely non-negotiable. This is where, the cost can be a factor, but you really have to use proper vanilla beans. Split them, scrape out the seeds, steep the pod.
Not extract.
No. Artificial vanilla extract often has a higher alcohol content, which can actually interfere with how the custard sets. Plus, the flavor is just flat compared to the real thing.
Vanilla beans are pretty pricey right now, though. Is there any wiggle room according to the sources, or is this just a must-have?
It's presented as a must-have for achieving that top-tier result. You skip here, you lose that crucial depth of flavor. The sources even talk about those little black specks. They call them luxury. Not just visual appeal, but functional. They signal quality. That deep, earthy vanilla flavor is essential to balance the bitterness of the burnt sugar top later on. Weak vanilla means the whole flavor profile is off.
Okay, message received. Real vanilla beans it is. No shortcuts there.
It really shows that precision starts way before you even think about the oven. It's ingredient control, technique control.
Right. So we've mixed our base carefully. Now we move into the really crucial phase, temperature control. This is where it becomes silk or, well, sweet scrambled eggs. Secret 3, heating the cream, don't boil it.
Yes, this
Yeah.
happens before you combine the cream with the eggs. You need to heat the cream to infuse that vanilla flavor, but you have to be careful. If the cream is actually boiling when you pour it into the egg mixture.
It cooks the eggs instantly.
Exactly. You get little bits of cooked egg. Coagulation. Texture ruined.
The original source mentioned a finger test, hot but not burning. That sounds a bit risky for home cooks. Is there a more precise way?
That's a great point. The finger test is traditional, but not very reliable and, yeah, potentially dangerous.
Mm.
What you're really aiming for is a temperature range, roughly 80 to 85 degrees Celsius. That's about 175 to 185 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
You should see little wisps of steam coming off the cream, but absolutely no bubbles breaking the surface. If you're unsure, definitely use a thermometer. That controlled heat dissolves the sugar properly and gets the vanilla flavor going before it meets the delicate eggs.
Got it. So once the cream is heated correctly and we've gently combined it with the yolks using that persuasion method, we hit secret number 4, the big one, the water bath, the bain-marie.
This is mandatory. No ifs, ands, or buts if you want that perfect texture. You pour the custard into your ramekins. Then you set those ramekins inside a larger baking dish. Then you pour hot water into the larger dish, so it comes about halfway up the sides of the ramekin.
We know it stops cracking, but what's actually happening in there? Why does the water make such a difference compared to just putting them on a baking sheet?
It's all about regulating the heat transfer. Water, as we know, boils at 100 Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit. By surrounding the ramekins with hot water in an oven set lower than boiling point, say 150 C,
Okay.
you're ensuring the heat reaching the sides and bottom of the custard is incredibly gentle and even. The water acts like a buffer. It distributes the oven's heat slowly and uniformly.
So no direct harsh heat.
Exactly. Without the water bath, the bottom of the oven would hit the ramekins directly. The edges cook way too fast, the center stays raw, that temperature difference causes stress, the protein seize up unevenly, and you get cracks or that rubbery texture on the outside. The bain-marie guarantees gentle, even protein coagulation.
That explanation about the proteins really sells it. You're basically protecting them from thermal shock.
Precisely. And that gentle approach carries right into secret number 5, slow baking. Smooth texture. Haste is the enemy here.
The sources say bake low, around 150 Celsius, which is 300 Fahrenheit. What happens if you just nudge that up, say 25 degrees F to speed things up?
You risk complete failure, honestly. The custard actually sets at a fairly low internal temperature, around 82 Celsius or 180 Fahrenheit. If your oven is too hot, the outside and top layer will glass past that set point way too quickly. They become stiff, overcooked, maybe even watery or grainy, while the center is still liquid.
Ah, the dreaded grainy texture.
Yeah. Baking low and slow allows the entire custard to heat up gradually, so the center reaches that perfect set temperature just as the edges do. Everything firms up together, nice and even.
It's a perfect example of patience being like a literal ingredient, as one of the chefs put it. Patience is flavor.
Absolutely. These first 5 secrets really hammer home that the control you exercise over the environment, the mixing, the eating, the baking, is way more important than just following steps. You're managing energy transfer on a micro level.
Okay, so we've made it through the oven. We have, hopefully, perfectly set silky custards. Now for the grand finale. The finish and that critical timing. Secret 6 starts the cool down. Cooling is crucial.
Right. Once they're out of the water bath, don't rush them into the fridge. Let them cool down on the counter first until they reach room temperature.
And then chill.
Then chill. And this isn't a quick chill. Minimum 4 hours in the fridge. Honestly, overnight is best. This allows the fats and proteins to fully set and stabilize. That's what gives you that cool, dense, luxurious texture you expect.
I always kind of figured the hard part was over once the oven timer went off, but this waiting, this discipline of patience is just as important, isn't it?
It's absolutely vital, because only a properly, thoroughly chilled custard can handle the next step without turning into soup. Which brings us to secret 7, the burnt sugar magic, the actual brulee.
The moment everyone waits for. You sprinkle sugar on top, a thin, even layer, right? What kind of sugar is best?
Fine granulated sugar, or castor sugar if you have it. It needs to melt quickly and evenly. And yes, the layer must be thin. If it's too thick, you don't get that delicate crack. You get a thick, hard sheet of candy that's difficult to break, just a fine dusting. Then, the torch. You need rapid, focused heat. The goal is to melt and caramelize that sugar almost instantly. It should bubble up and turn a nice golden amber brown. But here's the warning. The difference between perfect caramel and burnt, bitter black is literally a second or two. You have to watch it like a hawk.
Oh, I've been there, waving the torch around, trying to get the edges, nearly setting off the smoke detector. It's definitely a high-pressure moment.
It really is. But the reward for navigating that pressure is secret number 8, the signature crack.
Ah, yes. Describe perfection for us.
Perfection is that incredibly satisfying tap-tap CRAEC sound as your spoon breaks through the glassy sugar surface with just minimal pressure. It's that immediate dramatic contrast. The shattering, still slightly warm, crisp topping giving way to the cold, firm, smooth cream underneath.
And that contrast leads us straight into the 10th, and maybe most crucial secret for serving. Timing is everything. You spent hours on this, and now the clock is ticking.
Seriously ticking. This is the final control point. You absolutely must serve the creme brulee immediately after you torch the sugar. Don't wait.
Why not? What happens if you let it sit for, say, 5 minutes?
Two bad things happen. First, the residual heat from that caramelized sugar starts to warm up and even slightly cook the very top layer of the cold custard beneath it. It softens. Second, moisture from the air, and maybe slight condensation from the custard itself, starts to dissolve the sugar crust from underneath. You lose that perfect brittle crack. Honestly, even just a 3-minute delay can mean the difference between magic and mediocrity. The whole point, the genius of the dish, is that stark, immediate contrast. Warm, slightly bitter, crunchy sugar hitting cold, smooth, sweet vanilla cream.
That's fascinating. The entire success hinges on managing that sharp temperature difference right at the moment of serving. You controlled the energy going in during baking, and now you have to control it one last time with the torch and immediate delivery.
It loops right back to that core idea. Rigorous discipline. If you fumble that final step, that final minute, all the careful work before the gentle mixing, the bain-marie, the slow bake, the long chill, it's kind of undermined.
So let's wrap this up. We looked at creme brulee not just as a dessert, but as this test of discipline. What have we learned? Success seems to come down to meticulous control over the entire process, not just, following a recipe list.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic metaphor for mastering almost anything complex. Getting really good at something quickly isn't always about finding some secret, complicated method. Often it's about controlling the basics perfectly, ensuring careful input, slow and gentle integration, that's your bain-marie for learning, and then executing the final application with precision and perfect timing.
We saw control over ingredients, the right yolks, real vanilla, control over temperature, gentle heating, bain-marie, slow bake. And finally, control over timing, the long chill, the rapid torching, the immediate serve. It's all about managing energy transfer, isn't it? Slow, then fast, then immediate contrast.
It really is. Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Given that the whole triumph of creme brulee relies on managing these extreme contrasts, this long, gentle, controlled buildup, followed by a rapid, intense final step, what can you maybe take away from that about managing temperature and timing outside the kitchen? Think about high-pressure situations you face, or maybe introducing a bold new idea at work. When is it time for the gentle bain-marie approach, slow, steady, building consensus? And when is it time to bring the torch, that decisive, high-energy action? Knowing how to manage that contrast, that timing, that might be a secret worth mastering, too.
Definitely some food for thought there. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the delicious, demanding world of creme brulee. We'll catch you next time.